outside or inside the box. So if you look at it on the browser here, yeah, if you look at it on the browser here, you see that there's some space by the edge at the top or between the content. What is going on there is that some of these elements, they are applying margin. Margin is the spacing. This is where the elements stop. But outside of it, you see that there is this white area here. So this one now is what we call margin. But assuming the spacing is inside the box, we call it padding. But in order for you to see it clearly, it's always good that it's when you have background, like when the box is showing. That's where you see a lot of us this thing like that. For example, now if I use the relative, the H1 that is there, I give it a background of blue, and the color should be yellow. What kind of color mix for this one? So if I save it, we are going to add the color riot here like that. But if you look at it, we are every content of your page are always in a box form. That's how everything on the page, CSS is only treating them as box. Everything on the, even if it is text, it only see it as box. And as you can see the background, it's kind of draw this box around it here. So this box now, there's some properties that goes along with it, and then some of this property is not just for one side alone. They deal with the four side that you can see on this box. So you have the top, you have the right, you have the bottom, and you have the left. And some of the property that deal with this box is this padding or this margin here. And the job of these two is to add space to your box. But where are they adding it? Padding is adding it inside, while margin is adding it outside the box. So here now, if I call this margin now, if I call the margin and if I put the 0 there, which means I'm removing whatever, because by default, some of this element the browser is giving them margin, or it's giving them padding. For example, like all the button on this screen, you see that there's a space inside the button. So look at it, the signing is not jam packed at this edge, and it's not jam packed at this edge, because the browser is applying some default padding inside that button. The same thing to all your H1 to H6 and all your paragraph. They used to have a margin at the top and below them, and that's the reason why you see that there is this space here. But if I want to remove it now, I can turn the margin to 0. So which means whatever that is there before, turn it to 0 there. Can you see now that that space has been reduced? But you still having space. That space is actually coming from this paragraph, because paragraph have its own too, and heading too have its own. That's why it now the space is not much, because both of them you use. This one is having its own top, this one is having its own bottom. Combine it together, that's why you now have that a lot of space there. But right now, I've removed all the margin around this particular H1. But if you still look at it, I see white area here. There's another white area. That box supposed to touch the edge. Is because the body too is having margin. The browser is applying margin there too. So if I say this one too should have margin of 0. If I save it now, you see that that box now, it's going to touch the edge, because the browser too, can you see now, is not touching the edge, because there is no kind of any space inside the box. So that this is what you want, because you don't want the browser to apply all this silly stuff for you, because by the time you start applying the background whatever stuff, there's going to be some white space that you don't want, and you're going to see how to turn off all the margin and padding so that the browser setting will not work. Then you now add it yourself anytime you need it, not that the browser will just add it unnecessarily, because the thing will be causing some stuff that you don't want there like that. So margin is used to add spacing outside the box, while the padding is used to add it inside the box. So if I want to add it inside the box, I just need to call padding, and if I use like 5 rem here, which is 5 times 16, so which is 80 px, I have the extension that converts rem to pixels and pixels to rem. As you can see, it's showing me that this 5 rem that I'm typing here, if I'm using base font of 16 pixels, this is what it's going to be by the time I get to the browser there like that. So if I save it, as you can see, there's 80 pixels here, there's 80 pixels spacing, 80 pixels spacing, and another 80 here. But don't forget, this your padding or margin is a short-term property that you can use to control the spacing around the box. And don't forget the around here is that you have the top, we have the right, we have the bottom, and we have the left. That's how it moves when you are supplying the value. So when you give it one value, it will apply it to all of them at once. Once you give it a value, the first side will be using this single value. So which means the top will be 1, this one will be 1, this one will be 1, and this one will be 1. But if you give it two value, then the first value is for the top, the second value is for the right. But since this bottom and this left are not having value, they will take from their opposite. Any side that is not having value will take from its opposite. So which means here the first value is for top and bottom, while this one is for right and left. So if I save it, left and right will be 2 rem, while the top and bottom will be 1 rem. But if you give it 3 value, so if you give it 3 value, then you keep distributing the value. So 1 for the top, 2 for the right, then 4 for the bottom. So the left is not having anything, it will still take from it opposite, because any one of them that is not having value will always go to the opposite to pick the value. And if you supply all the 4 value, then all of them are going to pick their value there, starting from this top, next moving to right, next moving to bottom, then moving to left. So that's how it's moved. So anytime you are now using this padding, it is your type of padding that can affect any of these sides at once, or you can affect different sides separately there. But instead of you doing it like this, that sometimes you only want to talk to a particular side. So when you want to talk to a particular side, mention padding or margin depending on the one you want to use, then hyphen the side that you want to change. So if I want to change the left, I just need to use padding hyphen then left. So this means here you are only talking to the left side. So whatever you are doing is just for left side, doesn't care about other side. So if it is the right that I want to change, just impute the side that you want, and it's only that side that is going to affect it. If it is top too, just put padding top, and it's always going to affect the top. And if it is bottom, you put padding bottom. The same thing for margin too. So if it is margin, just replace padding with margin. You know, before there is no space here. Now it's going to add the space at the bottom of this item here, like that. What's going on? Oh, but it will never work. We say bottom here, we're not turning everything back to 0 here. And that's the reason I used to turn everything I've worked on to comment, so that it doesn't affect what is going on the page. And as you can see here, we're having that 4 rem at the bottom. If it is top, you see that it will apply it at the top. And if it is right, it will only give it not top. If it is right, then it will only apply it on the right side. So but the spacing is now outside, not inside the box. If it is left too, then it will only do it for the left. So you can mention different side that you, so you can just say, okay, I want left or I want right. But what if I want top and bottom? Or what if I want left and right? You know, the one we just mentioned there is to talk about left only, right only, bottom only, or top only. But what if I want the left and the right at the same time? Or I want the top and the bottom at the same time? That's where all this one comes in. So we have inline. So we have the margin inline or padding inline. Inline means left and right. So that's what he's saying there. So margin inline means you're only affecting the horizontal, the line, like horizontal. And the horizontal is just your left and the right. So if I save it, it will happen on the left and it will happen on the right. This thing is a shorter property too, because you can use it for stats. As you can see, what it's doing is just like your margin left, but it's not just for left alone, it's affecting left and the right. So if you give it one value, it will affect the two sides at once. But if you give it two value, then it will distribute it according to what you use here, but only for the left and the right. As you can see, the first one is for left, while the second one is for right. When you give it one value, it will use that one value for the two. But if you give it two value, it will use the first one for the left, it will use the second one for the right. The same thing too with this one. We have block. Block is now top and bottom. So when you say block, it's top and bottom. which work like the inline too. The difference is that where it's applying the spacing there. So this one too, if you give it one value, it will use it for both the top and the bottom. And if you give it two value, then the first one is for top, while the second one is for bottom. But most of the time, I always use it just to apply for top and bottom with one value. So, and I don't want to talk about left and right, because we are using padding. If you give it one value, it will use for all of them. It doesn't care about the side. It will apply. But at some time, you only want to focus on the top and bottom, or left and right, but you want to apply the value at once, not that you want to type it on separate line. What this thing is doing here, if you want to do it, this is what you have to do when you want to use this thing. So you are going to do this on margin top, like this, one area. The next line, you are going to do margin bottom, and this one is going to be 3 area. So this two line here is what this one line is doing here. The same thing too, if both of them are 1 rem, these two line is the same thing as just using it like this. See how simple it is compared to you now typing two property to do the same thing as what this one is doing. So anytime I need to do something like this, most of the time, this is what I will call. But if I only need to change only one, then I don't need to use this, because it will be affecting the other one too. But if you need to change the two opposite sides at once, it's always good that you just go with block or inline, depending on the side that you are looking for there, like that. So all these things are very important, and we're going to be using them a lot later on there. But yesterday we skipped one of them. One of them is this border. So one of them is border. And what is border used for? Look at this, your input here. You see there's a line there. This is what we call border here. So every box can have a line around it, and the line is always at the edge of the box. So the line, the space margin is giving you spacing inside the box. Padding is giving you spacing inside the box. So border now is that the line around the edge of the box. So and this border now, you can use it to change the line to anything. For example, now look at this input. The color here is this particular gray color. But how do we change it to another color? Or how do you change the thickness of that line? Or how do you change the style of that line? So that's where border comes in. Because if you look at this design, let me see if I still open the design now. Yeah, look at the design. Can you see that the color change? This one is gray, but this one is purple. So how do you change this color now? You need border property, so that you can change the line around any box. Any box. Don't forget, everything on the page, the CSS is treating them as box. So whether it is text, or it is input, or it is any other element, they always have a box around them, and that box have all this property that I'm talking about right now. So anything that is box, so this border now, you can now use it, but border have a lot of property too. So we have this, you can see anytime you are dealing with your box the box property there, it always have different side, like the top left. So as you can see, you can talk to only left, you can talk to only right, or you can talk to only top. But if you want to talk to all of them at once, don't specify the side, just talk about border alone. So when you say border, it means you are talking about all the side. You don't care about a particular side. But if you care about a particular side, mention border, then mention the side, then followed by the property you are looking for that particular side. So here, if I just say border, so here you are going to specify the thickness. So the thickness of the border, just like the way we talked about text decoration. So you are going to talk about the thickness, then you talk about the style, and you talk about the color of the line. So this is a shorthand property that you can use to change the line around any box. So this one is not just talking about one side, it's talking about all the sides. So all the sides, we have this particular thickness, we have this particular style, and we have this particular color, like that. So how do we use it? But that thing doesn't need to follow that order. If you like, you can start with style first, but I always follow this particular order. So this one, I want it to be 2. So that's the thickness. The thickness of that border is going to be 2. What is the style? We have solid. So I'm going to see a lot of border style that I will show you. And what color do I want to use there? I want to use yellow. And if I save it now, this yellow is not yellow in. Let me use red. That's why I used to use red a lot. It used to show, as you can see, there's a line around everything. So this is what we call border. The border is always around the edge of the box, and you can increase the thickness so that you see how it works there. So as you can see now, it increased the border from 2 to 12 px like that. But this is not the only style that you can use. We have other style too, like dotted. So it means it's going to be dot dot dot. The style of the line is going to be dot 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 like this, or you can use double like that. So we have a lot of style. We have dotted, we have double, and we have groovy. So we have groovy like that. Yeah, come aside now. So this one look like a mirror, like your this thing. So it looks like all these frame. So it's good, but I don't use this one. What I use is just normal solid line there like that. But if you know that you need something like this, you can actually use it. Or sometimes if your line is dot dot, then you use this dotted like that. And if you reduce the size, you see this thing more looking. It's going to look more appealing than the way it is before. As you can see, it's going to have this dotted line around everything. So this is what we call border here. But you can actually change different side. If you use border, it's talking about all the side at once. But you can actually change any side that you want. If I only want to change the top only, I can just do the border then top. The same thing you are supplying to border is what you supply to this one too. But here now, you're only focusing on the top side, not other side. So if I use border, it's talking about all the side. But if I use border top, it's only talking about the top. So for the top, I want it to be 12 px as the size or the thickness. Then the side is going to be solid, while the color is going to be green like this. And if I save it, you see that only the top will change to this particular side. But this border is talking about all of them. So the border is talking about all of them, while this border top is really talking about the top. If I change the side to left, then it means that it will only focus on the left hand side there. I hope you are following. Hope this thing has not disappeared. Okay.
Yes, I'm following, sir.
Yeah, so this is what you can use. So if I save it, as you can see, it's down on the left because I'm talking about the left side there like that. So border is used to apply line around the edge of the box, which is really useful when you are dealing with form. So border is always useful when you are dealing with form, because that's what you are going to use to change the style that this browser is giving you by default. So if I want, I can disable all the border that is here. So let me select the input. So I want to select all my inputs. The border should be none. So which means by default, I don't want to see any line. So you are not going to see any line again. As you can see, nothing is showing again. But I want it to be under. So what I can now do is border buttons right now, because I only want it the under one. So what I want to do, I want it to be 2 pixels solid purple like this. So, and if I save it, you see that it will now only show the bottom one. So there is nothing like the left, there is nothing like right, and there is nothing like top. It's only the bottom one. But if I want to show it for all of them, just use border directly. So it will affect all of them at once, not just the left or the right or yeah. So the border is working for all the side, while the one that is working for a particular side, you mention the side of the element that you want to apply the border on there. So if it is left, mention border left. If it is right, you use border right, and so forth like that. But there's something with this border too that you need to know is you can actually control the edge of the box too. See that this box now is like the edge is sharp, it's not round, but there are some element that they are not like this. Their edge is going to be in a curve, or it's going to be in in a round shape like that. So how do you apply that? We have something referred to as border radius. Look at it there. Look at this. Look at this box. Look at the box. It's not that the edge is not the way it used to be. This is how the edge, all the edges used to be. But you can actually change the edge to something like this. And if you look at it more, yes, you see that this one is even more curved than the other one. So how do you do something like this? You need border radius. So border radius is what you are going to use to change the edge of your box, which you can use to apply this curve style there like that. And as you can see, the curve here is not the same thing as what you have there, because each one of them, they are side, and you can change any of the side that you want. Just like the way when you want to change border, you can talk about the top, you can talk about the bottom, you can talk about the right, or you can talk about the left. The same thing too, the radius too, you can talk about the side that you want to change, and it's follow that pattern of that margin and padding. So it can accept one value, it can accept two value, it can accept three value, and it can accept four value. But the way you specify value here is not like that. The way it move here is not like that. Padding on the margin. When you're talking about padding, it's talking about just top alone, or right, or bottom, or left. But this one goes more than that. So when you are dealing with border radius, it's not changing this one, it's only changing the edge. So which means you'll be talking about edge, not about the side alone. It's the edge. So this one means that this is your top left, because it's by the top and it's by the left side. So this one now is going to be our top right, but it's still at the top, but it's by the right hand side. Not just the top. You can't just say top alone. You have to specify the side too. So whether it is on the left or it is on the right. So the way it moves like this, it starts from this top left. The next value will be for this top right. The next value will be for this bottom right, and the last value will be for this bottom left. So it's moving that direction too. Just like this one is not just talking about top left, bottom, like that. This one you have to specify the edge, not the side. Is the edge. So this is the top left edge, this is the top right edge, this is the bottom right edge, and this is the bottom left edge. And when you want to specify any of these radius property, that's what you are going to use there. So let me give the margin button. You can see now all these things are jam packed together. So what can I use to space it? I know that the space is supposed to be outside, so I want to use margin button because it's the only button I want to apply. I don't need the other side. So here now if I use one area, so for all the inputs, as you can see, it's going to apply space outside of the box, but for the bottom only, because I don't need it here, I don't need it here, I don't need it there. But if you need it for all the side, instead of specifying one side, just use margin, and it's going to apply it for all the side. But you know that it's not making sense like this, so that's why I'm only putting it at the particular side that I need it there, like that. And it's only I'm going to apply it at the bottom side because I want to be outside. But if you are using padding, that's another thing, because it will not put the spacing outside, it will not be putting it inside the box. So know the difference. Padding is inside, while margin is outside. So anytime you want to apply space, you need to know which side. It is inside or outside. So if it is inside, padding. If it is outside, that is margin. But currently here now, I want to put it outside. I don't care about what is inside the stuff there. So what do we want to do? We want to change the edge of this, but let me put it inside too, so that we can see this in clearly. So this padding should be around that 0.5, which is 8 pixels, because that's half of 16. Like that, because 1 rem is 16. So if 1 rem is 16, that means half is going to be half of 16 pixels, which is now 8, like that. So now what do I want to do? I want to change the edge to be round there. So what do I need to use? We have a property known as border radius. When you do border, it's changing the line. But when you talk about border radius, it's changing the edge of the box. And here now, this border radius is a short-term property that you can use to apply all the, as you can see, it's working for 1 or 4. So don't forget, here now you have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's having 4 sides. So which means here now, you can either supply 1 value all the way to 4 value, like that. So, and the value you'll be supplying there is the unit of which determine how curved the edge is going to be. So here now if I use 1 rem, since I'm supplying 1 value, it means it will use that 1 value for all the side. So I save it. All the side we have equal type of as you can see now, your this one is now in this type of shape that we have here. And this is how some of the input online is going to be displayed to you, not all those 4 corner whatever stuff. You see that they are always round, or sometimes the button that you click online, they are like this. What they are just applying there is this border radius. So it will now, by default, this is how all your button will look like. But you cannot change it to something like this by applying this border radius on it. Not anymore that you apply border. So because anything that you can see the background, you're always going to see the edge. It's only when you are not seeing the background, that you not see the radius. So which means if I select our button, so here now we have a form, but I want to select the button that is inside it so that I will only target the one that is here. And here now I want the border radius to be the same thing as what I have there. So if I save it, you see that the button now is going to change. Oh yeah, save now. Close. So if I scroll there, as you can see, but there's a line there. That line is a border. So if you don't need it, you can turn it off. And to turn border off, just say border none. Like you don't want any border. Once you put it to none, it will remove the border on that element. But if you look at it, the space inside the box is not that enough for me. So I can now bring my padding. So I have one area which is top and bottom, and left and right. I have two rem. Again, two I don't even this left and right should be 3 rem. And again, background color should be the purple. Everything I'm using is what we talked about, and that's what you now be using, or this is what we combine it together to now have something nice. Look at from our that burning button now, we are now having this kind of a nice. So the color too should be purple, but it's going to be a lighter purple, so they can give this kind of a nice design. Or if I want to do it, this one should be lighter, while this one should be darker. Come outside now. So this one should be darker, and if I save it, as you can see, it's going to give this. Or you can reverse the color for background and background for color. What it's going to do here is that it's going to give you a nice design. So when you are putting a darker color on a lighter color, it used to give all these kind of a nice design like that, because they are the same color. You are just changing the shade, and it's now going to look perfect in the eye rather than you combining other colors. You can no, what's going on? What's going on here? What's going on? What's going on? So as you can see now, see that it still looks nice. So when you have a one color, but you are alternating them like the darker one and the lighter one, always give this kind of. So from our boring button, we're able to create this button here by just using our border radius, the background, and the border along with the color. We do not kind of like do anything special here. But look at the way the button is looking nice compared to what we have there before. This is what we have before, the boring button, and now we have this nice button. And along with this, our input too, that is not looking boring again, that is now having this kind of a line around it. And in order for you to have this edge, you need border radius. So if you want all the edge to be the same, you just give it one value. But what if you want this one and this one to be the same, and this one too, and this one to be the same? So you give it two value. Don't forget, any one of them that is not having value we take from the opposite. So what is going to happen here is that one area. So when you are giving this one, this is how it moves. One will go to this one, then the second one will go to this one. But now there is no value for this, and there is no value for this. So what is going to happen is that this one will take from its own opposite, and this one too will take from its own opposite. So which means the first value, is going to be for these two. The first value is going to be for these two, and the second value is going to be for these two, because it's always moving in clockwise direction there. And if I save it, you see that it's going to give us another design again, because the shape of the curve is not the same. As you can see, this one is 1, this one is 2, but this one is not having value. So since it's not having value, it come here and pick the value that this one is using. The same thing here too. This one is not having value, it will pick the value that this one is using, and you now have this kind of design that is here. Who is that? Sorry, let me pause this. All right, so yeah, okay. So now what if we now give it 3 value? Don't forget, it can accept 1 to 4 value. So it's follow that same pattern here, there like that. So I have 1, which is going to go to this one. I have 2, which is going to go to this one. Then 3 is going to go to this one. But this one is still not having value. It will still be picking from its opposite. Any one of them that is not having value will pick from opposite. But the one that have value will stick with that value that you are giving to it. So which means 1 rem is for this top left, 2 rem is for this top right, 3 rem is for this bottom right. But this our bottom left is not having value. It will just go to the other side and borrow the value from that side. All right, so If I save this one now, you see that each one of them will take their value, and if I give it 4, then that means the other side too will pick its own value. But most of the time, you always see that all of them are having the same value. But there are some places or some design, just like what you are seeing here. Now look at this design. So that this side is not the same thing as all this one. So there's some design that the the radius is not going to be equal. It's going to be different some side there. But almost all the design that you're going to be seeing there, the side is always equal. For example, now if I go back to this one, as you can see, there is radius here too, but all the side are the same. Look at the button too. It's there. You always use this radius a lot because it make your box to kind of have this kind of a nice edge rather than the four corner edge that you used to see there like that. So you can see here, it's having it, it's having it, it's having it, it's having it, but it's the same. So what you have there, so since it's the same, just give it one value. But if it's not the same, then you have to distribute the value so that it matches what we have there. So if I want to do something like this now, what I have to do, you know that this is this top left, the top right, and bottom left. So I know that all this one, and this one, they are having the same value. The only one that is different is just this one. So I know that here now, the top, that one will be 1, this one too will be 1 because they are still the same thing. Then this side is going to be around 4 rem. And if you look at it, I did not specify the fourth one because I know that this one, we always go to this one to take the same thing. So this is 1 I just left it, but you can actually type it too if you want. So this one, see the same thing as you not typing that last one because they are having the same value. And if I save it, as you can see, this one will be 1, this one will be 1, this one will be 1, but this one is going to be the 4 that is here. And the reason it look like that, I can give it I need to explain this one too. I will explain this one soon now. I will explain this one soon now. So as you can see, which is going too much, 200 px like this. So as you can see, it's looking like that. It's like because the thing is not high, like the height is not like that, and that's why it looks like it's joining with this one. But since I increase the stuff now, you see that it's not looking like that design that we have there. So this is 1, this is 1, this is 4, and this is 1. So you can actually talk to any of the side that you want. And again, too, you can actually mention each side on their own separate line. Don't forget, this is shorter property. It's affecting all the side at once. But just like the way we have this border left, or we have the margin bottom, or we have the margin top, you can actually talk to any one of them too. Maybe in your design, other side are not having anything. The only one that is having it is just this one. But that's the only one you're talking to. So using this one is just waste of typing. Because if you are using this one, you still have to specify all the sides. So which means you want to use it for this one, border radius, comma side. Want to specify for this one comma side. Oh, I did not close. Border radius, comma side. So here now I need to specify 0 because I don't need it here. So this one too, I don't need it. That's 0. But now I need it here. So I can now put 4 rem. And here too, I don't need it. So 0. This one is not even need like that because this one will pick from it opposite like that. So and if I save it, see that you have to type a lot of number here just to do this thing. So instead of you doing like this, you can actually call for this side only without calling for any other side. But that one used to be long. That's the problem with it. That one used to be long. Its own property used to be long. We have the border radius. You are going to specify the border radius, but you now mention the side, whether it is top left, top right. But don't, this is bottom right. So here, as you can see, we have the border bottom right radius. So that's the one that is meant for this one. If it is this one that you need, that's the border top right radius. So, because don't forget, this is the top and this is right. So, because you are talking about the edge, not just the side. You must mention the edge. So if it is that one, that this is border bottom left radius, which means here. This is the border bottom this one. So the border top right radius, which is here, while this border top left radius, which is here. But if you see all this, that is end, that is start. Start is this one, like that. So this is start. It's starting from here, but this is the end. Starts. Where are you? See, start is this one. Start end is this one. Why this end starts is this one. Notice the end. Why end, where are you? End, which is this one. But the one I used to use most of the time is this your. No, this one is talking about the side. It always you always get it with this one. So I don't really use this. I used to use all this one I mentioned the side. So do you have the top left, top right, bottom right, and bottom left? Because this one are more clearer compared to all these start end start end like that. But both of them will still do the same thing. So if I only need to apply it here, I just need to call this button right only. But this thing used to be long, so but you have to type it with only that side. Or if you don't want to type this long stuff, you use this shorthand one and you just put 00 for the one you don't need and you put the value for the one that you need here. So it's the same thing if I put 4 rem here, it will still work. Another one will still be 0 because I'm only talking to this side. I'm not talking to all of them. Border radius is talking to all of them. So you need to remove the one you don't need. But if it is this side that you want to focus on, then it will not talk to the other edge that you are not focusing, that you are not putting your attention at that particular time. So this is how border radius work, which is very, very important anytime you need to do design. And a lot of design that we are going to be facing later on, they have all these round edge attached to them because that's the way things are being designed these days. So that's what they use. You always see this round edge, a lot of box. So any box you be seeing online, they always have this kind of a round edge around them. And the one that is not having rounded is going to have something that we call border, which is the next thing now. The box shadow rather is going to have box shadow. So box shadow is just like your own shadow that follows you. So you can actually apply a shadow at the back of the box. Now this is the radius. But if you look at this particular design, it looks like this thing is sitting at the back of this color. That is like kind of like a fade color, like the shining out here, like the thing is coming out there. So this is what we call box shadow, which is what you can use to kind of add like a depth to your design. Like you now look at something is sitting on top of another content there like that, because there's some element that you want to use. And again too later on when you want to turn anything to circle, it's still that border radius we are going to be using there. But there's two properties that I need to mention before we get into turning something into circle there. But a lot of elements you see online, they always have radius. So look at it here too. This box inside the parent too is having its own. This text area too is having its own. So a lot of design these days always have all this kind of a round edge. And in order for you to do that, you need the border radius property to be able to do that. So let me open this one too, like that before I move to the next thing, which is another shadow stuff that I'm talking about. Not all the thing, but that a lot of them will always have this round edge, like that. Does this one have edge? Because it all depends on the designer. And whatever the designer is giving you, that's what you do. No, you can't be doing. So as you can, this one did not have. So, but this one did not even depend. It not even have it. Even the button itself, it's not having any edge. So it all depends on the design that you are working on. But almost all the design come with all these edge stuff like that. But how do we create a shadow? What do we refer as a shadow? So look at this design here. The same thing here too. You look at this box, it looks like it is sitting down on top of this element here. What they are doing there is they are applying shadow so that it will not look as if something is in between that background and the element at the front. Or you can, and that shadow now can be by the left, because anything that deal with box model, you always talk about maybe top, left, right, and bottom like that. But the way you specify box shadow is different from the way you are doing this one that you are mentioning the side. This one you'll be using number to either move to left, or you move to right, or you move to top, or you move to bottom. Because this one work based on coordinates, not based on the side. So let's do this thing. Let's put it into but in order for us to do this one, I need to create element that have that kind of a shape that we want, because you need to have one element at the back and another one at the front. But I don't want to use this white background. I want to create another one separately. So I'm going to create an element here. I will call it shadow. That's the class that I'm going to use to select it. So this is the box. that will be the background, and inside it I'm going to add another box which is going to be cover, what can I even call it, wrapper like this. So that's a class. Inside the wrapper I will have h1, which is the title, testing, shadow, like this, and after it I'm going to have a paragraph with some dummy text. So lorem 25, generate this dummy 25 stuff. Oh yeah, now format this thing. Yeah, so now if I save it and go back to the top, we should have this content, boring content, but we want to turn it to something nice. And in order for it to be nice, we need to apply some CSS on it, like that. So I'm going to apply what we've learned and now add the border, the box shadow to the list. And from there, I will have the height and width to it, so which is what I use. If you look at it, the width of the height of this box is not what I want. So I have to change the height of the box. So in CSS, you can actually control the size of any element directly. Even if the content is not up to that, you can change anything anyhow. And that is why you see that from this design here, where is that design? I've closed it. That one that have all these images of these people. So the image that is showing there might not be that's the original size. So you have to make sure that it's follow the size that is on your design. Maybe the image you are bringing from the internet is really large or small. You can actually control the size by increasing it or decreasing the size. And what you'll be using there is the height and the width of the particular element. You can increase the height or the width of any element, whether it is text or it is other content, just like the way you see that I was able to do it for the input. So it's not just for text or input, it can happen to any element. You can change their size like that. So let me disable all this one. Oh, yeah, I've removed the where are we? So we have this. Where am I applying this style again? Why is this one like this? Did I apply any font size somewhere? Because I know that this thing is too big. It's not like that. It's not supposed to be like that by default. But that thing is too big. So now we have this texting shadow. So how do we know where this thing is coming from? Now we give it a class of shadow. Even this is not the one that's supposed to even give shadow. So the class is placed wrongly. It's not supposed to be a wrapper, but this one is the one at the back. Why this is the one that is actually having the shadow like that. Because it's always good that you use a descriptive name of what is going on there. So the wrapper is going to have a background color, come outside now, yellow green like this. So the color that will be inside should be green, which is going to create this kind of a light and spoiler spoiler. Let me use green here. I want it to be a darker green, not this light one. Then this light one will not be the color. So yellow green. So that it's bring out yeah. So yeah, see the everything is jam packed. So I want to apply spacing inside the box for the same space like that. So inside this wrapper, we have something. We have shadow there, which is the box that holds everything there. Oh yeah, come outside. So background color of this one is going to be yellow, and the color of this one, what can I even use? Let me put it. Am I using is this color riot or something nice? So let's stick with this one, or let me see if it's the darker version is going to be okay. Nah, it's not working with that green. Yeah, this one is okay like this. So this one to see that the content we need to add space inside the box, and that's what you'll be doing based on what is going on. But I don't like that edge of the box, so I need the border radius, which I'm going to use around 1 because I want it to be the same across like that. But it's not going to do it for the parent, it's going to do it for this one. But this green is not going to allow us to see this shadow very well. But let me increase the padding because I want the one for the top and bottom to be more than the one on the left and the right. So now I'm using 3rm to the first value, that's for the top and bottom. The second value is for the left and right. So that means that there'll be more space at the top and bottom, but on the left, just that normal 1rm like this. But at some time, the spacing will not be equal. So you just call the one that you want there. So what do we want to do? We have a property known as the box shadow. They are of two types. We have box shadow and we have text shadow. Box is applying it on the box, while text is applying it on the text. Let me show you. Don't let me apply it on the box. Let me apply it on the text so that you see the difference between text shadow and box shadow. All of them, both of them have the same signature, but where they are applying it is what is different. So if I inside the shadow, we have H1 there. So this H1 now, if I give it text shadow, and anytime you're using text shadow, there is a way of specifying it. How are you moving the shadow on the x-axis? How are you moving it on the y-axis? What is the radius of the blur? How do you want to blur? Do you want this thing to blur or not? But it's not a must that you specify this one, so it is optional. Again, too, another thing that is optional there is the spread of that your shadow. Do you want it to spread or do you want to reduce? Because as you are increasing this blur, it will keep spreading the color. So you can now use this one to increase the spread or decrease the spread. But the two of them, they are not necessarily needed for you to create a shadow. So the next one is color. Color too is not necessarily needed. If you don't put it, it will use black by default. Or what's the essence of you using black? Why not just use your own color? So this is the pattern that your text shadow or box shadow will follow. So whether you're using text shadow or you're using box shadow, this is the pattern that they all follow there. So the difference is just where they are applying the shadow on the page. So look at it here. This one will not really show what is going on. Let me use a lighter background so that you can actually see the shadow. But that one is dark, so the shadow will not really show correctly. It will show, but you might not be seeing it like that. But because I've been working with it, so I will see it, but you might not see it like that. So let me use something that is lighter. So the first thing we have there is X. Do you want to move your shadow on the X? So if I put 25, if I put 10 here, pixels, it means we are shifting the shadow to the right hand side. When you use negative, you are shifting it to the left hand side. The same thing too on the Y. How do you want to move it? So on the X, don't let me even move it at all. On the Y, I just want it to come down. No, let me take it up. So negative is going up, positive is coming down. So I want to move it up by 10 pixels. And the next thing is I want the shadow to have a red color. And if I save it now, can you see there is now a shadow on the text? See, this is text shadow. But now let me change it to box shadow. Instead of it to be text, what I would now use is box shadow like that. Can you see the way it's now applying it? But you will not even see this. You are not seeing this one correctly because this thing is not having background. So let me give it background color so that I see it clearly. So let me give it green so that you see this actually at the back of this green or at the see where it's applying the shadow when it is box. It's affect the box shadow is only for the box, not the text. But if you want to apply it on the text, then it have to be text shadow, not box. But even if we are dealing with text, it will never put it on the text. It's always going to be on a box. But if you look at the shadow now, the shadow is not looking like shadow at all. It's not really blur. It just looks like the normal text that you type. So what can you do here? We can apply the blur radius. Here now if I use 10 pixels, it means you should blur that shadow by 10. And as you can see, the shadow is there now, but it's now blur. This is what we had before. Let me turn it to 0 so that it's not having any see. But now I change it to 4 pixels. So it's going to blur it. It will be there, but it will blur the shadow out. And this one now is what you can now use to be moving it. If I use 10, it will move the shadow down because positive is coming down, negative is going up for the second value. For the first value, it's talking about how you are moving it on the X. And as you can see, it did not move on the X at all. If I use minus 10, it means I'm taking it to the left side. So it will move down, but towards the left side, as you can see, on the X is going towards the left. If I increase the number to maybe around that 30, it will say it more that it's going. But if I use positive, then it will be going to the right. So positive will give you towards the right, while the negative will give you towards the left for the first value. For the second value is talking about the Y. So positive will come down, negative will go up. But the same thing now, let me apply it, but now using box shadow. If I save it down, you see that it will not be affecting the text again. It's not affecting the entire box. Box shadow is affecting the entire box, even if it is text. While the text shadow only affects the text, not the box around the text. Don't forget everything on the page has box. So when you now want to apply shadow, yes, can do the two separately. So one we apply to the box, another one we apply to the text. And you can even change the setting. Doesn't need to be the same setting. So this one now, I can change the color to maybe yellow or something, or whatever color that you want to use as the shadow there. And if I save it, as you can see, so they won't affect each other, but they have the same setting. And again, where they're applying it is different. So text is only going to happen on the text, while the box shadow will happen on the box of that text, because everything in CSS always have box there like that. So box shadow, we apply it on the box. Text shadow, we apply it on the text. But majorly, what I used to use most of the time is this box shadow, because it's the one I used to use a lot based on the design that I used to work with. But at some time, if you want to add a shadow on the text, you can actually use this one. Yeah, and you can even use it to do some crazy design like that. So but for now, I don't need this text shadow. What I'll be using is the box one, and this radius is really small. So let me give it around that 34. You see that it will add more blur to the stuff, and as you can see, the thing is expanding there like that. I'm coming back. Yeah, so as you can see, when you apply radius, the blur here, you see that this thing will start expanding. So you can now use spread to control how this thing is going to spread out like that. So we can now specify this one, maybe like 2 pixels or whatever stuff. Or you can even use negative value to reduce, because once you use positive value, it's increasing the blur. And if I use maybe like minus 22, it's not, see now, I've reduced all, this thing is too much. I've reduced all the spread. I've removed all the spread. Yeah, because that number is kind of maybe too big for that particular side. As you can see, the spread, it's reducing it bit by bit. But if it is not there, you see that a lot of spread will come outside. All those spread will start showing like that. So if I save it, you see that you are going to see more of red here like that. But most of the time, I don't use that spread. What I use is the color. Because don't forget your color, you can apply the alpha channel, which is the transparency, like you can allow it to pass through others. So instead of me using that, I can just reduce the strength of the color to do the same thing. So if I save it, as you can see, it will be there, but I'm reducing the strength of the color so that you're able to see whatever at the back of it. And again, to this thing is too much. I just use this one to show sample there. But when you're doing it, you won't be passing maybe around that, depending on the element you're working with, or depending on how you want to add more emphasis on your this thing. You shouldn't pass more than that 15 or so like that. Like that. So that the thing is not that much. What you just do is that to reduce the transparency of the color. And again too, I don't really move it on the, most of the time you don't move on the X, because I want it to spread towards the left and the right. So when you want it to work like that, you just give it 0 on the X. So once you give it 0, so when that thing is spreading, it will be spreading to the left and it will be spreading to the right, instead of it spreading to only one side. It will spread to both sides. But it all depends on the design. Like for most of all the design, that's how it used to work. But there's some button that it looks like this, that your shadow is actually outside like this. But almost all of them, it always related to the size of the button like that. What's going on? What's wrong with it?
Maybe network.
No. Because I have opened a lot of VS Code. It's not just one VS Code that is open. And each one of them are doing some crazy stuff behind the scenes. As you can see. So if I save it now, as you can see now, it's only coming down because I move it down by 10 px. If I want it to spread to the left, right, top and bottom, just give this one to 0. So it will be at the back, but from that back, it will keep spreading out like that, which you can use to do some. But if you know that it is coming down, just give it maybe like 5 pixels, and this one too is too much. Let me give it around 8, which is going to add this kind of. And again too, when you are adding this box shadow, most of the time you should always use a darker color. That's the one that will make this thing to come out very well like that. And as you can see, it will now add that kind of a depth to the stuff. So when you want to add depth to it, you should always use a darker color, but you reduce the opacity, like the strength of the alpha channel, like that, depending on how you want the thing to. So if I take it off, no, it will not do what I want it to do because it have too much of a black like that. But you should always reduce it, and it will not give this kind of a subtle design at the back of the stuff like this. And again, I can add whatever I want to add to this thing, but I don't want to add it to this H1. It's supposed to be on this particular box so that it will not happen to that. Don't go outside. Where are you going to? So comment out this thing like this. So comment out, then save. As you can see now, it's not adding the depth on top of this. Like this thing is sitting down. And if I want it to come down more, I can just increase it maybe like around that 10 px like that. That is to come down more. But on the X, I'm not doing anything. It's only Y. Just spread there. And as you can see here, it will not add this. And if you want, you can make this shadow now. It is outside of the box. But at some time, you want the shadow to be inside the box. So how do you talk to this thing to move the shadow inside? We have something referred to as a inset. Inset means that instead of the shadow to be outside, it should be it should be inside. It should be inside. It should be inside. I know it should be inside. Save it, and as you can see now, the shadow is now inside. But it's going to invert what you are calling top or what you are calling whatever stuff like. Let me increase it. This color stuff. Uh, so as you can see, it's now inside, not outside. And if I want you to move that, just reverse the stuff. So it will now come down like that. It's now putting the shadow inside, not outside. And that's what you used to do to kind of like create like a text. Like like this calculator or any screen. That it look like it's always inside. So you can use something like this to do it. So I can just use the same color that is here, but I will just make it to be a darker version of it like that. So that it will not create this kind of illusion of the, or if I want to even do it sef, I need to do it all right. But this box shadow, you can add more, not just we're only adding one. So which is only going to happen to this time one. I can add another one that's only going to focus on this, add another one that will focus on this, add another one that will focus on this. And when you want to add multiple box shadow, just separate each one of them with a comma there. So this is one box shadow. Again, I can create another one. So this is the next box shadow. So this one now is going to be 0 again, but I want it to be, I want it to be by this side, which is going to be minus, let me use 10 pixels. On the Y, I don't want it to move at all. So that is going to be 0. Then the blur is going to be the same thing. What did I use there? I think 10 pixels. And it's going to, the color is going to be this color, but I want it to be a darker version of this one so that it can give me that kind of a look that I want. But if I do this thing, it will be outside, not inside. So if you want it to be inside, then you need to put insert. Any one of them that you want to be inside, that should be inside there. But I'm using two box shadow. One is coming down, the other one is going to the other, which is that, can you see now, it's not creating a depth on this box. This is a box. Without this box shadow, you cannot have that kind of a look. So if I disable the box shadow, this is the box. But now with the box shadow, we're able to kind of add like a depth into it, which is now looking like the thing is kind of having a depth in it, like it's like this is one part of it, but it's not having a volume inside it like that. And you can add to the other one too, and add to the top, and you do. But this color here is not giving me what I want because all this thing is based on a color theory, and the way you mix the color together determine how it's like it's going to shift it inside or make it look like one is inside it like that. So this is a box shadow there like that. Play. So I mentioned that we have two type of box shadow. We have the text and we have the box. We have two type of shadow. We have box and we have text. But both of them have the same signature. The same way you supply value to text, that's the same way you supply value to box shadow. The difference there is where they are applying the shadow. So for the text, it will apply on the text. But for the box, that one we apply it on the box of the element or the text you are working with there. But what do we refer to this x? What is this y? What is this blur? And what is this spread? And what is this color? X is how you are moving your shadow on the x axis. X axis is just your left to right or right to left. That's what this x is dealing with. It can be positive and it can be negative. If it is positive, it's moving towards the right. If it is negative, it will move towards the left. The same thing for y too. Y is talking about top and bottom, how you are moving your shadow there. So positive is coming down, negative is going up. This blur, which is not really necessary, it is optional, is what you can use to specify how blur do you want this your shadow to be. So this box shadow now, if I bring it back, if I bring the box shadow back, and if I change this blur radius from 8 now to 0, you are going to see that the color is just solid. It's kind of a ash. It's not giving that kind of a effect that you want. So you want this thing to be soft and spread out. So in order for it to give you that effect, you need to use the blur. You need to blur the color. Not that the color will just be this sharp like this, because it will not give that effect. Look at this one now. Look at this one here. There is a shadow here. There is a shadow here. But if you look at this one here, this one looks like it's part of that element there. But this one it just look like you put something inside it. So in order for you to do something like what we have on this side here, you need to add a blur there so that it can blur out the color, not that the color will just come out sharp the way it is there. And that's what this third number is there for. So if I put like 2 there, you see that it's going to blur out the color. So the more the number you put there, the more this thing is going to blur out this thing for you. So if I use 20, this thing is going to blur this thing a lot because the value is really large. So it's going to blur it out, and as you are blurring out, some part of the color will start fading out because that's what blur do. So they're like, or what blur does that like that. Apart from blurring out this thing, you can actually specify whether you want to put the shadow inside the box or outside of the box. By default, all the shadow are always outside. So, and how do you bring it inside? Is by using this one here, this value here, which is known as inset. Inset will move the shadow inside the box. And if I remove it, you see that the shadow will now be outside. So the shadow now is outside instead of it to be inside the box. The same thing with this one too. If I remove the inset, all the shadow will be outside. So you can apply shadow to your box. But when you're applying the shadow, it can be multiple shadow there, not just one, because you can't just use one shadow sometimes to achieve the design you are looking for. So you have to call it multiple times before you have the result. But how do you call it multiple times? You need to separate all your shadow by comma here. Let me move on this one to the next line so that we can see them. So when you are creating the shadow, you can create multiple shadow there. So this is the first one separated by this is the second one separated by comma here. So this one now it will work on its own. This one too it will do its own. And if you want to add another one too, just put comma there too. Continue with another shadow. And if you go online, when you see some design, what they are doing there is to apply multiple shadow. And later on too, all the shadow is not something you come with your head. It's the designer that will give you all this thing. And the design or the tools they are using to design this thing used to generate all the necessary shadow that you need. But if you are the one who trying to do this thing yourself, there are a lot of tools online that generate shadow for you. And once you pick the shadow you want, it will give you the CSS that you are going to. But the CSS is giving you, you need to know what is generated there so that you can modify it to your taste, or even change some stuff here so that it work for other design. But what is going on here, the first value is how you are moving the shadow on the X. The second value is how you are moving it on the Y, which is top and bottom. If you use positive value, it will move it down. And that's why you see it at the top. But if I use positive now, it will shift it down because now I'm using positive value. Why did I use? Oh, I put comma here, but I don't put anything. That's why it's not showing. So let me put semicolon there. As you can see now, it's now down. The same thing with the second one too. It's by this side because I'm using positive for the X. So it will be going towards the right. If I want it to go toward that side, it's just by taking this one to negative. On the Y, I'm not moving it at all. If I want to move it up, it's just by using minus maybe 5 pixels. It means the shadow will go up on the Y, while on the X, it will go towards the right. And if I want it to go more, if I want it to shift it more up, just increase the number. And the more this thing you put there, the more this thing is keep shifting it around based on whatever value that you are using there. So the next one is the blur radius, which means how are you blurring this color. So if I use 0 now, you are going to see whatever color you apply. So you can see this color is what I apply, and it's not blowing it out at all. It's just that same color that you put there that is bringing out there. But there's sometimes, or almost all the time, you want to have this subtle design for this your shadow. So you apply radius there like that. And here now, maybe if I use 15, you say how it's going to blow out everything. Or if I even use 25, let me use 25, and you see that it will still blow it more like that. And again too, as it's blurring the stuff, it's not that the color will just go like that. So you can still make this thing to have this subtle design by applying this alpha channel to your color, which is what you can, alpha channel is just like, how do you want this color to be transparent? Do you want the content at the back of it to show? So you can now apply that one, and to do in VS Code, just drag out this one down, which is going to create the RGBA. The A here is the alpha, which determine the level of the transparency. So there. So 0 means this thing is totally transparent. 1 means it's not transparent at all, which is what all the color used to use by default. But if you use around that 0.5, it means semi-transparency, which means this one is going to give you a subtle nice, because you can see what is at the back. The color is there, but you can still see what is at the back, which now makes all of them together and give you this kind of a subtle design. But whatever color you are using, it should always close to black, because this black used to give all these subtle design that you are seeing on the screen there. And that's why I'm using black here. But this black is really, really close to 1. So instead of it closing to 1 like this, because if it is close to 1, you are going to see a lot of that color. But if it's close to 0, then you are not going to see a lot of that color, which is going to give you that subtle design. That this element is now like it's placing on top of, like you have something in between the background and that stuff. It's not in place like a signpost at that particular place there. And you are going to be using this thing a lot for some design that require something like this. For example, here now, let me go back to all those designs. We are done. So let me show you a design, but I don't want this to go more than where is the design? I think is this drop down. Where are you? Interactive drop down. Interactive drop down. Yeah, this one. I think it's this one. So look at the design. So there's a drop down that is coming down, but because that thing is white, what is at the back of it is white. When you place white on white, there is no way you see both of them. What do you do? What you now do is like to place a shadow. That shadow will now be the one that will differentiate the background, and this is what I'm saying here. The background of this one is different from the background of the container. But at some time, both of them are going to have the same background. So when both of them have the same background, there's no way you see it. That okay, this one too is actually having its own background. But through the shadow, you'll be able to see. Can you see that? You can see that. But now if this shadow is disabled, if I disable this shadow, you will not really see anything that is going on there. You think it's just one plain background there. But that one is having its own. The cover too is having its own, and they are the same. Since the same thing, there's no way your eye will pick it out. It's actually a box that is on top of that wrapper. But through the help of this shadow now, it will not bring out that design, because the shadow will be there, and since the shadow is there, it will bring it out to the front. It will not look as if you are placing the stuff on top of the content, and that's what the design too is doing here. That's what this design is doing here, because the background is white, and when that thing come down too, it is white. Since both of them are white, that's when you know that that thing is actually having background. But in order for you to see it that is having background, so you will now see that they apply a box shadow. So that box shadow now will now add that difference between the back and the front, so that you now see that okay, this thing is actually having its own separate, even though they are the same color. But because of that shadow, you will see that something is actually there. Where are you? Let me turn back to the other. Yeah, look at it now. So if you look at it, but look at this shadow, is really, really subtle. It's black they are using, but they make it subtle there. And how do you make the stuff subtle? Is by reducing the this here, opacity here of the alpha channel. So if I take this one to around that 0.2, sometimes it used to be around that 0.0 something that I used to use, so that it give me that really subtle looks. And I'm looking at it now. So when it will not give it that, it will not be sharp, it will be subtle, and it will bring this kind of a nice design out there, like that. So, and as you can see, if you want, you can remove background like that. So you can still remove background. It will see the control then the forward slash. So like the thing is not good. So I can comment on anything. So that shadow is here. It's not having background, oh, but because of that depth, it will not look as if it's still having that particular background, and it's going to give it this kind of a subtle design that you want there, like that. So the shadow is really, really important for some element to come out or to pop out the way you want it to be there. So where is this other one? Yeah, that one I'll be explaining in that class, in the other class, when we are talking, when we are working on a design. As from next class, we are going to work on a proper design, and we'll talk more about other property that is needed for that particular design there. So we'll go online. I'll show you where you can pick design that you can work on yourself. That's where I'm going to go to. Go there, pick a design, but a simple one because we are just starting. Then from there we keep upgrading to this there. So and where to get the design is just this front end mentor. That site is where any front-end developer can go to test your knowledge, to give you different exercise that you are going to do, and you compare your design to the original one. So like that. The once you compare to original one, you just download because they give the resources there, and the resources are like the colors, the images that you know that you be the one that will start looking for the images. They will give you everything, but some of them are not free. Some of the material there are not free, but we are going to go with the free one, like that, so that we can get the material. The one that is not free, you cannot get the material. As you can see that design that I show you, this is where I got it from, like that. So, like someone have already designed everything. As you can see, the challenges. If you want to see other people's solution to the same thing, because a lot of people used to come here to get the stuff. You just go to the challenges side. As you can see, this one you have to pay before you can use it. But the one that are free, it means this one now, if you download it to give you all the, like all those food that you are seeing there, the text, the colors, it will give you everything. Your own design to make sure that your design looks like this. So just, this is how they are going to give you all the stuff. So look at it. They will give you all the design for both the desktop and the mobile. So this is what you'll be looking at. And again, too, all the material that are needed for that design, they will be under these images. So whatever you need, they will give you everything along with the colors. Can you see? All the material I use are here. Your own is just to link them together and use it at the appropriate. That's no way they will do that. Again, too, they give you the HTML, but they do not arrange the HTML. Inside the HTML, that's where you see the text. So you don't, not that you'll be typing the text yourself. All the text are inside HTML, but they did not arrange it in a proper way. So you will not be the one that will not convert. As you can see, what they will give you is just the text. But it's not left for you to convert this text to the proper design that is inside this design here. So that's what they used to do. So they will give you the material, the image. This one now is what we're going to work on in the next class there. So we're going to pick this and work on it in our next class. But what are we going to be using there to make sure that all this thing looks like this? Because a lot of things that is here, we've talked about it there. A lot of things that is going on there. Because this image now, what you'll be using to turn it to circle here is border radius, but there's some property, there's two properties you need to mention, which is the height and width. But the height and width must be equal before you can turn something to circle. But that's the condition there. The radius, because by the time you have the height and the width of the same size, the radius will be equal. And once you turn it to circle, then it, but if the height and the width is not circle, it's going to give you over. And you know over is not circle. So that's the condition there. And again, to all this one, that just normal thing that we just apply background and the color on it. For the spacing here, there's a way we used to do all this thing in a proper way. So I will explain it in the next class. Yeah, that's why we're going to start with this simple one. And as you can see, all the content are by the center. The text is centered. We've talked about all those one yesterday, how you can move your text to center. But we don't really talk about how to move a box to center. So I will talk more about all those one when we are focusing on this design there. But there's a lot of challenges on this site that you can lay your hand on. Some of them, as you can see, this one is telling you that the only thing you need for this one is HTML, CSS. The same thing here too, it's just HTML. So we are going to work on this one because it's only HTML, CSS. But there are some of them there that requires JavaScript to do. Because this one now is something that is having action. But this one now is just HTML2 and CSS, which is what I'm going to give you as an assignment. And as you can see, can you see what we explained today? It's the shadow there. So this is one of the, this is shadow here going on. The shadow you are going to use to do that. And apart from shadow, so there is a black line around it, which is that your border that we talked about today. And again, to look at the image, border radius going on it. The same thing, this button there too, the border radius that we talked about today. So that's how it used to work. Not that you just be using each one of them separately. You combine everything together for a particular design based on what the designer is giving you there. And this is what we're using like for practice. Okay, we are getting something from the designer and we are not translating into a proper design. But that's going to be again to this another one, which is I'm going to use to explain flex property. Because with flex property, you can use it to place things side by side like this or on top of each other like that. Because it makes layout easy to place something on top or side by side. And there's another one too known as a grid. And that one is what you are going to be using for something like this. So that one is really important when you want to do something that deal with rows and column. Because if you look at this, is the first row, but inside the first row you have A, D, and other value there. This is the second row where we have the J, K, L. This is the third row, but the thing is arranged in the form of rows and column. So to do something like this, you use grid. So we can do this one too with grid later on, but this one now is premium. We cannot get the material. So this is premium. All this material now you cannot get it. So but we're going to design it by ourselves by just, as you can see here, this one is combination of flex and grid, because a grid allows you to place something side by side, and again it allows you to move something, one thing by the left, another thing by the right. So we're going to use all these things to learn all this property. And again to later on, we now learn that the one that you can use to move things around, that one is where this thing comes in, which is positioning. But at some time you want to position some item to odd place. Odd place means they are not supposed to be there, like the way you arrange the HTML, they are not supposed to be there. But through the CSS, you can actually place any element anywhere you want. So you cannot use the positioning. This one too is premium. Well, I'd love for us to do this one, but it's premium. So which is now dealing with form. And as you can see, all this is our drop down here. Why this is just normal input where you are going to type the stuff like that. And we're going to see how we can handle some different parts of a page like that. This one I'm going to give you an assignment later on like that. And as you can see, that is input. This is your label. This is the button, and you style everything. And I can see from this button, it having the shadow here. It having shadow. By the time we download the stuff, you see the thing. Oh, it's not having shadow.
Uh, it's have, but
Yeah,
it's
it's very soft.
yeah,
It's kind of close to that color. It's not having like a depth, but I can see there's a depth there like that. And again, it's not like that. I see some other. Can you see what is going on? This one requires JavaScript now because that's the way you can come. Can you see that it's showing some item here? But this item is supposed to come outside when you click on this and you do not put anything there. And if you look at the language that the thing is telling you to use, as you can see, HTML, CSS. But there's some design there that are only because this is design. So what you'll be doing there is to design, not to concern you about the JavaScript part like that. So yeah, and all this material will be given to you. See how to design all this thing. We'll be talking about them in the coming classes like that. I think yeah, you can see the shadow, the radius, the shadow, they are being used. So SWOT is they always being used a lot with all the design. So let me stop the video. This is 18.